So, hey, Peter, thanks for joining us today. This is the very, very first video podcast that we're doing with Open Source Training. It is great to meet you, and tell us a little bit, first of all, where are you? What do you do? And what's fun where you live?
So I'm Peter Bui, as you said, and I grew up in Adelaide, but now based in Sydney, Australia, the beautiful harbour city of Australia. So it's a really nice place to be. We run a little web design studio here based in Potts Point, which is just outside the city, at the cusp of the King's Cross area, if you know Sydney at all.
Right.
We design sites for small to medium businesses, all the way up to federal government here in Australia.
Wow, congratulations. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. It's been a long time and a lot of work, but we finally made it to that level, and we're quite happy where we are at the moment.
How long has your business been in place?
We started in 2006,
Okay.
so that's a good 7 years now, just about 7 years.
Yeah.
We grew it in Adelaide, and for those people that don't know, Adelaide's quite a small little town here in Australia. They consider it a city, but it's fairly small, and if you can grow a business in a small town, then you can pretty much grow anywhere else.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well,
We found
I'll throw a map
fact-
of Australia up on the screen for them to see.
Cool, fantastic. Little
Yeah.
bit of a geography lesson as well.
That's right. So, are most of your clients now in Sydney proper, or do you have clients internationally? Where do most of your clients come from?
The majority of them, I say about 70 to 80% are from Sydney, and the other percentages back from Adelaide. But we also have a few clients overseas as well, mainly in the South Pacific, which is a really cool place to have clients, because when you go
Yeah.
out to meetings, it's nice. It's a
need-
quick flight out to Fiji. It's about 4 hours, and it's beautiful tropical weather, beautiful beaches, and absolutely beautiful people too.
That's great. I was thinking the other day I need some clients in Bermuda, but
Yeah,
I haven't figured that one out yet. But you have, so that's congratulations on that.
yeah. Thank you. It's we're still working on a website at the moment, but maybe by the time this video goes out, we might have launched it.
Oh, that'd be great. I did take a peek at your site this morning, and it's gorgeous as it is. So who knows? It's probably going to be absolutely phenomenal when you find a view. So
Thank you. It's a constant work in progress. It's it's the old story. You got to work on your clients' websites first.
yeah,
Your own in the background, and you look at it one day and you go, "Whoops, what was I? How am I still getting clients?"
it's true.
Yeah.
The shoemaker never has time for his kids' shoes.
That's
So
it.
tell us a little bit about, because most of the people watching this video are not from Australia. They're going to be from the U.S. and some from Canada and some from Australia for sure, but all over the world. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to run a tech company, specifically a Joomla web design company in Sydney, and reach out to Australian clients.
I think the hardest thing here is actually trying to convince business that open source is the way to go. It's been a long time coming, especially in the government space, to actually convince and show them that open source solutions are actually a good way to go to deliver corporate environment websites. For a lot of the small businesses that do a lot of research into the different solutions, that's a little bit easier to sell. The cost effectiveness of an open source solution as well also makes it quite easy. But federal governments, it's a little bit harder. It's it's a bit of an education process as well. So yeah.
Right, right. Are you finding that once you've gotten one federal client, you're now starting to see more government agencies looking at you and at open source?
It slowly grows.
Okay.
And I have to say it's still quite painful because there's a lot of competition in the Australian market, and especially in the federal space and the government space in general, mainly because there are other providers that provide similar solutions,
Right.
but they also provide high level of support in terms of technical server and infrastructure support as well. And they provide that all as a complete package. Yeah. The federal government here have also made WCAG 2 accessibility mandatory here for all Australian websites. So that's absolutely critical. And some of these other companies actually do it really well with their solutions. So it's really hard to compete. Yep.
Well, congratulations on getting it. How many have you done? How many government sites have you gotten?
Maybe about 3 or 4 at the moment that are active government clients with us.
Congratulations. That's pretty good. That's a milestone.
Yeah. I know there's 2 constantly active. There's 1 in development, and we're just on the borderline of getting another one as well. They're having a department change. So when they restructure, we'll work out what's going on there. Yeah.
All right. So you're in Sydney, one of the most beautiful cities in the entire world. Tell us about the tech market. What's it like down there in Sydney, but maybe even some other cities that you've experienced with? What's the market down there, and how is tech doing in general in Australia?
Tech is actually surprisingly booming here in Sydney. The tech startup space itself is attracting a lot of talent, and a lot of the cool startup companies here in Australia are basically snapping up everyone that has any sort of skill in web development, web design, and mobile app design as well. I have to admit the Australian market is a little bit behind in the whole mobile space, and people are really capitalizing on that at the moment. So there's a lot of companies that are doing all that mobile apps for like Androids and iPhones,
right?
And they're doing so well at the moment. And in terms of actual website development and using open source in general, a lot of the startup companies are just picking up open source solutions and just going off with that. It's so much quicker to build something with Joomla or WordPress or Drupal in a day, in a week, and provide a good startup platform rather than building something from scratch.
Oh, that's pretty exciting. So you seem to be in the right place at the right time down there. That's great.
Yeah. We are losing some talent and some companies going off to the States, and that's a little bit of the downside. There aren't too many investors here, so they're going overseas to look for more investors. They're a little bit more reserved here in Australia, and they'd rather invest in mining stocks or something like that.
Not much changes, does it?
No, it's just the Australian market.
So tell us a little bit more about what's in store for you and your company in 2013. I know you've got some pretty big plans coming up. Fill us in. What's going on?
Okay, well, besides regular clients and contract work that we're doing at PB Web Dev, we're going to concentrate on that still. But all of our side projects, we're doing quite a bit. One is our podcast that we've started. I made a New Year's resolution to start the podcast, and we've been doing it religiously every single week. So that's the Joomla Beat podcast. So you can Google that, and it should come up number 1.
We'll put that in the show notes below.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, it's going pretty well. We've done some interviews with some pretty cool guests around the world, including Brian Tiemann, Anthony Olsen from Joomla Bamboo, and Peter Van Westen from No Number as well. So we've got some really cool interviews that we're just holding on to, and we're going to release in the next few months.
That's great. What else is going on?
What else? All right, we're writing a book. We're in the process of writing an ebook, one about template design, and don't know if I can tell you yet, but I can't tell you many more details about that. But one about template design, and then the other one about marketing and managing your Joomla website. So the general day-to-day stuff. It's kind of like a handover book for your clients, and that would be sold as a digital ebook for a few dollars on the iTunes store.
Fantastic. Yeah. That's a big need. So I know a lot of people will probably snap that right up. Well done.
Oh, I hope so too.
You're looking at some different clients or some enterprise clients this year as well, I understand?
Yep, that's right. So we're slowly moving away from the smaller level clients, the mum and dad sort of businesses, and looking more into the enterprise 300, 500 plus employee sort of websites. We find we could probably dedicate more time and build better solutions for them, whereas our time that we spend on building small websites might not be quite effective or good use of our resources and knowledge.
Right. All right. So let me ask you three Joomla-specific questions then. One
right.
coming right off of what you just said. Can Joomla run an enterprise-level website?
Yes, it can. It can, and it can do it well.
Okay.
Do you want instructions how to do it?
Well, you know what? Maybe that's another ebook for you. But
Yeah.
I mean, I tend to agree with you, trust me. But it's something that I get a lot of questioned a fair bit about. There was a great session on it at Joomla World Conference in San Jose this year. And it's something that people do question because it's open source, number one, and because it's, maybe at times not viewed as extensible or as robust as something like Drupal or Plone or something like that. But I mean, to hear you say yes and to hear you say you're going after those clients is tremendous. All right, so that was question one. Question two, in your first podcast, you said something along the lines of, or you asked the question at least, has Joomla lost its popularity? Can you give us the quick?
Yes, I did.
Can you give us the quick answer to that one?
Okay. Basically, no. So that's a quick answer. But in terms of the forum posts that we're looking at, or indicators that we're trying to measure against during that podcast, we're actually using the forum and the forum usage as an indicator. And that's probably not the best indicator because basically a lot of the traffic and help and FAQ sort of questions that are going out there aren't exactly going through the forum anymore these days. It's actually going through a lot of the template providers and service providers these days who actually provide the high level support. You find, you can spend a day or two on the forums trying to figure out an issue on your website where you can just pick up a phone and call someone local. And that's what we're finding that's happening more so these days. People are just picking up the phone. There are more service providers around and providing much higher level support. Of course, it comes at a cost, but clients are more than willing to pay for high level support and service.
Right.
So no, Joomla isn't losing its popularity. Using the forum as an indicator is probably a bad indicator. Just look at the Google searches and the websites that are powering Joomla these days. It just gets bigger and more popular every day.
Right. And that was a great answer. It's something that I've been interested in as well, of course, because we are one of those service providers that answers a lot of Joomla questions that would normally have gone to the forums. And people do pay for that. And because open source is relatively inexpensive, you're not paying $25,000, $35,000, $50,000 just for the CMS before any development. There's money there available for a service like that. And frankly, for a service like yours that's going to take some of these enterprise clients and move them beyond where they could have ever gone with a proprietary CMS from a cost perspective alone. So there's a lot of value in Joomla and other open source
hugely
like that. Yeah, for sure. All right, last question. Again, Joomla related. Tell us about Joomla Day Melbourne. Why people should go to a Joomla Day, and maybe just some of the fun things you guys did this year.
All right, Joomla Day Melbourne. That just happened last week, and I have to say, if you have never been to a Joomla Day before, you should attend at least one a year. The amount of information that you gain out of these days is just phenomenal. The information ranges from presentations from very basic and little quick hints and tips that you never would have thought of, all the way to complex development stuff. So there's something there for everyone that wants to get something more out of Joomla itself. So it's pretty cool. I have to say, some of the highlights from our Joomla Day Melbourne that just passed was Brian Tieman's presentation on JCE, the very, very common content editor for Joomla that's been around for such a long time. But he opened our eyes to quite a few features that a lot of people don't know about, and some of the more advanced features that are just hidden in the background, and you would never know unless you had a really deep explore and played around with the configuration files. So we learned a lot from that. And we also learned a lot from Peter Van Westen's extensions, or the no number combinations. You can install a whole bunch of them and use them to do some very powerful logical stuff and automate some module positions and automate various parts of your websites depending on what content loads on your site. I would have never known that or never understood the power of what those extensions could do if I didn't go to a Joomla day.
Wow. I heard the introduction to his talk was amazing. And I don't know what that means because nobody's told me yet. I'm hoping they recorded it and the video will be out shortly.
Yeah, I hope the video will be out shortly. I don't want to ruin the surprise, actually.
Okay, please don't.
It's a pretty funny intro. Peter's actually a bit of a comedian as well. Yeah.
Oh, super. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Well, listen, Peter, thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything you just kind of want to close off with? And we're going to put your website, your podcast, some of the things we've talked about. We'll put all of that in the session notes when we put this up on the web. But anything you want to say?
Just make sure you back up your websites. Keep them secure and back up your sites. Do it right after you watch this video. Just go ahead and back up your site.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And give Sydney a big hug for me.
Will do.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.